That's very possible. So what they've done here is they've normalized, so if anyone's from Toronto and you live in some of these neighborhoods, you're like, oh my God. What they've done is it's a per capita report. So these areas that are denser, so let's say in this area, so I'm in 22 division, which is like this lower quadrant here. It's a fairly large area. So Eglinton just south of here, all the way down to the lake, the border with Mississauga to like the Humber River. So this area here, it has more reported intimate partner incidents. And all it is it's more concentration of homes and there's more concentration of apartment buildings. As you go up into smaller areas, those are larger properties with less people living there. That's all it is. So we try to keep track, and if there's an issue in a neighborhood where we're seeing more assaults or more car thefts or more theft from autos, then we go to the area and we address it. Sometimes with our stats going up, people are like, oh my God, things are getting worse. No, it's that our educational component and our partnerships are working. People are reporting more to us. So it's like frauds. I do a lot of presentation frauds to seniors, and it's 5 to 10% of frauds are reported. And if you look at the amount of money that's being stolen or given over to some of these scammers, it's a lot, and only 5 or 10%. So as our numbers increase, it just means more people are reporting it. So we've increased from last year to this year, year to date, 2% more reports. So does that mean that it's happening more? I believe it's just that people are safer, they feel safer reporting this to us, which I encourage it. So we go through what intimate partner relationships are, whether it's marital engagement, a one-night stand, anything like that. We talk about that. We give examples of it, and then again, it does not matter what or who you are. If you're in a relationship, whether it's a male-male, female-female, and anything else in between, if something happens, we want to report it to us so we can deal with it. And like I mentioned earlier, unfortunately, we're on the law side of things. And how it works for us is if you make an accusation that someone hits you, I have to investigate that. I just can't take your word for it, because then everybody would get charged, and then the person saying, yeah, they hit me too. So we need to investigate, we need to get a background, we need to just find out if we can get to the bottom of is there more going on here? Is there a history of things? So we tell the officers, this is what you're going to look for. Not all our frontline officers are domestic violence investigators. That comes later on in terms of the ability to investigate. And I am one of those investigators that just got that updated ODARA training as well. So anything that we can do to better ourselves as a person, I want it. Anything in terms of training, I want it as well, because if I can improve or make someone's life better for a few minutes or for the rest of their life, that's what we need to do, because that's my job. I'm there to preserve life, I'm also there to make it better or take away things that are causing the harm. We talk about the different types of violence. It doesn't have to be just a physical. There could be the side of the psychological and the stalking part, the harassment part, literally anything that makes you uncomfortable, makes you change whatever you're doing. And then we nowadays, obviously, we're talking about technology helping. Well, technology also is the side of revenge photography, or revenge porn is the term. I don't like using it. It's like when they say child porn, it's not child porn, it's child sexual abuse images. But when you say it that way, people look at you crooked and go, what? So again, intimate partner images that are being shared without someone's consent, again, that's something that needs to be reported to us. Thankfully, the laws were changed recently, but again, when we get something, if there's no law there or the consequence of that law, then unfortunately it continues. And we'll give an example of, the stolen cars. The stolen cars, the consequence is very low right now. So where people keep keep doing, stealing cars. Until that consequence changes, then hopefully the actions change as well. Obviously, we try to ingrain in the officers and in anybody that we're educating in terms of, like, if we're talking to members of the public, apartment buildings, churches, community centers, anything like that, that the abuse side of it is deliberate. It's not your fault. And as a male, when I say that and I stand up here and I'm like, this is not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong here. So if you are the victim, and I was just having a discussion before, is even in our courts and our reports, I can't put you down as a victim sometimes if there's an argument. It's like you're a complainant or a reportee. The victim side of it is there's like actual physical, and again, that's just our reporting stats. But this is the abuse, the psychological, the harassment, the physical. It's in the control that this person wants to have over you. Again, male, female, doesn't matter what they identify as. We go over this and over and over. Any questions? I'll answer any questions as I'm speaking. You can interrupt as long as it's regarding what we're talking about, and at the end, I'll take any questions from parking tickets all the way up to homicides. The reason why I say that is because I do a lot of presentations to seniors, and in one of my questions at the end, they asked me about the Sherman murders. So Honey and Barry Sherman that were murdered in Toronto, and I was talking about frauds and scams, and this question came up. So literally it was at the end, it was okay. So any questions? Yes? So the question is, so their spouse is an RCMP officer. When they get there, they have to remove the aggressor. And the question is that Canada-wide? I don't know. Janelle at my desk is there from Newfoundland. I know we were talking about policies. In the city of Toronto, we have the dominant aggressor. And so we get in an argument, you punch me, I punch you back, and then I punch you 3 more times. In Toronto, I'm gonna get charged because I'm the aggressor. In Peel, Mississauga, which is next door, they will charge both parties because the first punch that came in is not allowed, and then the other punches that from me are not allowed either. That's how they deal with it. So I can't answer for if there's any other law enforcement in the room that wants to admit to it. Maybe you can answer, but I'm not sure. It goes by region and by their policy. But when we go to calls, we need to investigate.